Hello everyone, welcome to Desi Investing by NRI. Today our topic would be bank accounts for NRIs. So in this video we will be talking about the different accounts what NRIs normally use and what's the purpose of those and how we are trying to use them and what is the real need for them and how we really have to be using this in a right sense. So before going to any further topics in future, this is kind of basic information that everyone should be aware of in terms of using the bank accounts in a right manner so that we all can get the right usage in the right way. And going forward, any topics that we would cover, we will try to categorize them into a beginner investor category or beginner trader or an expert trader kind of a thing. So this is a basic beginner investor or a trader kind of a category, I would call it, because anybody who don't know anything about banking also can start at this point. So there are many people who don't even have bank accounts, or they have a bank account and they don't even know much details about it other than withdrawing money or depositing money. So let's try to understand some basics about the accounts that we should be using, especially for NRIs. So before we move on to the topic, a quick disclaimer: I'm not a certified financial advisor and I'm sharing all my experience and knowledge. Please consult your financial advisor before you make any decisions. Okay, first of all, let's try to understand who is NRI, and then we'll try to understand what are the most commonly used bank accounts in US and most commonly used bank accounts in India for NRIs. Because every topic we touch base, we try to have the basic differences between the USA versus India and how it can help us understanding it as well as using it. So first of all, let's understand who is NRI. Of course, we are all NRIs. So as we all know, NRI is basically a non-resident Indian. And then if we talk, we are non-resident Indian. So who is resident? So technically, from a definition standpoint, let's try to understand in a simple terms. A resident, he or she is in India for 182 days or more during a financial year. So technically, all our family members, whoever is residing in India for a long time, so let's call it all of them are residents. And even if you are there for a long time, technically you will also be a resident. But again, there are certain conditions for people who are living abroad, being in NRI category, and then when they return for certain period, they cannot immediately become resident. So there are certain other criteria to satisfy. They have to first go to RNOR category, and then they will be finally shifted to resident category. And that's not our topic. So let's understand who is NRI. If you are an Indian citizen or a person of Indian origin and you live outside India for 182 days or above, so all of us, most of us are Indian citizens, or some people person of Indian origin. So basically our children who are born in US but still they are person of Indian origin, or people who are living here who got converted as US citizens or citizens of any other country wherein by birth they are Indian citizens. So such people we can still call it as person of Indian origin. So all these people who are living abroad for a long time, so let's call all of them our NRIs. So now before we move on to this, so as we talk more about NRIs and we try to compare it with some foreign banks, so because I live in USA, we'll try to compare it with US banks. So for anyone who don't even know what is a bank account, or they don't have a bank account, or they have it but they don't know much details about how to use kind of stuff, let's try to understand basic minimum differences. There might be many things, but we are not going through all of them, but we are going through very few differences that one should know mandatorily, minimum understanding that we should have. So at least when it comes to USA, so most of us will be using checking accounts and saving accounts. So when we talk about checking account, primarily this is an account to designed to spend and issue checks for payments. So when we say designed to issue checks and payments, and whereas the savings account primarily to save and generate interest on savings. So there is some key differences between these two, and if we have to really understand what exactly it is, let's quickly go through the differences. Let's understand the key differences between the checking account and savings account. So in a checking account, what you're going to get is 0% interest, which means for whatever money you are going to hold in this bank account, checking account, you get no interest out of it, because most of the Indians are used to it. So any money that you leave it in your bank account, which is a savings account in India, you always get some interest, which is not happening in checking account. And what they are not giving is no interest, but what they are giving is checks. They give you some checks, checkbooks. You can issue checks to make some payments, whoever you wanted to pay. And are there any limits? No limits, meaning there is no limit for spending, no limit for depositing, no limit for withdrawals. So you can deposit how much ever you want and you can withdraw how much ever you want, but make sure you can withdraw only how much ever amount you already deposited, whatever the balance that you have in your checking account. And common usage, mostly used for daily usage, like of course most people use credit cards as well, but bank accounts is something designed for everyday payments or everyday usage. It's your choice when to use, how to use, where to use, but end of the day, in a reality standpoint, we all use this in a way to receive our salaries and then make payments to your bills. So any bills, rents or mortgage payments or anything that you are supposed to pay back to credit cards, technically that's how it works. And now let's move on to savings. What's going to be a savings account? Technically, why the saving account is designed. So primarily the saving account is designed to accumulate interest, especially in US. So most of the old people, retired people, will try to keep some money in savings because they get some interest out of it. And how much is the average savings in US? Because it's going to be, because it is a mature country economically, we are not expecting too much of money as interest. So commonly seen pattern is anywhere between 0.1 to 0.5% is what we technically get in savings, which is far less when we compare it with Indian savings accounts. We all used to, that's why I'm trying to compare it that way. And why the savings account is really used and how it is designed to save, which means they allow you to withdraw but in less quantities. So there will be a limit about only 3 withdrawals or 5 withdrawals. It depends from bank to bank, but most commonly it will be 3 withdrawals limit. In case if you go beyond that, there will be some charges because you are withdrawing many times, and they will give you a debit card. You can use your debit card, go to an ATM and withdraw your money, or you can go to bank, talk to a teller, and you can withdraw the money there as well. But what you don't get here is checkbook or checks. You cannot get checks because this is not designed to use it that way. It's not a checking account, so you're not going to get a checkbook out of it. So if this is clear, maybe now we can move on to our Indian comparison, how we have accounts in India, right? So in general, any resident Indian, when they want to open a bank account, they simply go open an account. So whenever they open an account, that is technically savings account. Most of us don't even know it's a savings account, and it is generally a savings account. So what do we mean by savings account? The savings account, most of the savings accounts in most of the banks usually give 3% interest for the money that you keep with the bank. There are some banks who give 4 to 6% also. Now in the recent days it has been reduced, but still most of the banks on an average they give 3%, which is pretty high compared to the US bank accounts that we get. That's a primary advantage. And with savings, if it is India, you get your debit card if you want to withdraw money, and you also get checkbooks. So basically the savings account in India is basically a combination of savings and checking account together, what we have in USA. So in US they have split this one account into savings and checkings, and they have defined the purpose of when to use savings, when to use checkings, and they defined some limits so that you all well within your limits. Whereas in India, one account for that solves everything. But there is another kind of an account in India. It is not for individuals. If any companies wants to open accounts, they usually do something called current accounts. So this is not our topic. We are not going to discuss more about it. So we all talk more about the individual accounts that we have in India versus in US. And now before we move on to the next set of things, basically the next set of things would be for people who moved to US or any other foreign country for work or for any other reason, who are living outside of India, who are technically NRIs. As soon as they move out from India, and if they know they are going to stay long term for 6 months or more or beyond for a long time for the sake of work or any other reason, so they have to make some changes to their bank accounts. They cannot hold the resident savings account for a long time. Now, so we just saw this commonly used bank accounts in India, savings account and current accounts for business, and bank accounts to be used by NRIs. So now this is our topic. So are you allowed to keep your savings account which you have opened even before you moved to abroad? For few days, few months it is okay, but it is illegal to hold your savings account and continue to operate for a long time being an NRI. It is not legal. Most of them do not know this, and they are still trying to keep this account, and they are doing all the transactions with the same account, which is not right. So what is right here? So as soon as you move to abroad for work purpose or any other reason, if you are planning to stay long term, you are technically supposed to open NRE and NRO accounts and then start using them as according to the purposes how it's designed. So we will understand how it's designed, why it's designed, and all those things. So one more thing you can also ask me, like once you have a saving account before moving abroad, can I convert it to my NRE NRO? Yes, you can convert it. You can still have the same bank account number that you used to have earlier, so that it won't affect any other recurring payments that you are doing. So like most of us, including me, when I moved, I had some bank accounts, bank payments to my bank loans and other things that's going on, so that I don't want the bank account number to be changed. So when we place a request, bank will take care of retaining the same account. So now when we talk about NRE account, NRO account, so which one it would be, there will be a lot of questions. So let's discuss about it one by one. So before we go discussing NRE and NRO, we have to understand certain key topics here. Most commonly used term is NRI. We are now clear, NRI stands for non-resident Indian. So now most of the times when we start discussing with others, they always say open an NRI account, use your NRA account, transfer funds to NRI account. So first of all, is there something called NRI account? Is there anything like an NRA account? Technically, there is nothing called NRI account. So NRI is just a status given for the person. It's represent a person, a human being who is living abroad with this particular status. NRI stands for the status given to a person. It is not a bank account. Let's make it clear. There is no such thing called NRI account. So for NRIs, the bank accounts provided by all the Indian banks are NRE bank account and NRO bank account. So you might have a question, so if they are giving two different accounts, which one should I take, NRE or NRO? Whether you ask just one account or two accounts, technically this is like a package. So all the banks provide both accounts to NRIs. So there are different reasons why these accounts are designed and how it works, and we have to really understand those. So now let's understand the differences between NRE and NRO. This is very much important before you operate any accounts. Let's see some differences. So let's assume that you have contacted your bank, be it any bank, HDFC, ICICI, State Bank, or whichever the bank it is. So once you get these two accounts opened, NRI account and NRE account, so the basic differences between these two accounts are, let's understand this. So NRE stands for non-resident external account and NRO stands for non-resident ordinary account. Okay, so the biggest difference is, so NRE account is tax-free and NRO account is taxed at 30%. What are the examples when it can be taxed, when it cannot be taxed? Okay, so let's say you are in US and you are transferring some funds, right? Once you have some funds that are available, then let's say you have 50,000 rupees, for example. You have 50,000 rupees in NRE and another 50,000 rupees in NRO. So if you keep this money for a period of 1 year, let's say, for example, so let's say your bank is giving 3% interest. So what is the 3% for 50,000? So technically 1,500 rupees, right? And then here also you would make 1,500 rupees in 1 year. So whereas for the 1,500 rupees, what is the tax? 0 tax. So bank would not collect any tax. So technically we call this as TDS, tax deducted at source. There is no TDS if you keep your money in your NRE account. And if you keep your money in NRO account, there will be TDS. They deduct 30% of it. So technically the 30% here would be 30% of 1,500 would be 450 rupees. They deduct and pay it to the government. So the bank would deduct and pay to government as taxes. So technically if you have no other income, you can get your money back again by filing taxes and show you have no income. That's a different story. We'll talk about it later. So first thing what we have to understand is we will have NRE account as a tax-free. So this is one example. And then there is another situation. You can create a FD. So let's say you create FD for 50,000 at 5% interest rate, and after 1 year you technically will be getting 2,500 rupees as 5% interest, and this is tax free. Whereas you can also book an FD for same 50,000 rupees for 5%, and then you will get 2,500 interest, but out of which 30% you have to pay, which is 750 rupees you have to pay as TDS. Bank will deduct. It's not you are going to pay, the bank will deduct themselves. Okay, we'll talk about this in detail, how to use FDs and kind of stuff a little later. But then, so here with this example, what we are trying to understand here is how the tax is applied. So the bank would deduct directly based on the interest that you are earning. And now, before even going with what bank would do with your money and how they apply the tax, before all these things, first let's understand how to make money transfers. Money transfers. You all know this. You might be using Zoom, Remitly, or many other modes how to transfer it, but we have to really understand what would happen if I transfer it to NRE. What would happen if I transfer to NRO? Can I transfer to NRE? Can I transfer to NRO? There are multiple things. So let's talk with an example. Let's say I have a bank account in USA. Let's say I have Chase checking account. Okay, so I have bank account with Chase Bank, that's in US. So now I have, let's say, $5,000 I have savings from my salary, and I would like to send it to India. So if I wanted to send this 5,000 to India, first we need to understand, why am I sending? Just because I have excess money in US, I want to send it. Some people think, hey, I have to make some bank payments, I have to pay some loans, and I have to give some money to my friend, or I have to give it to my family members, I have to support many other things. So technically I have to pay to somebody. So that could be one example. So you have to pay to some people. That could be one example. And there are another set of people, I don't have anything to pay, there's no loans, no nothing, but I have just some money. Technically, if I keep it in my checking account, I don't get anything. So I would like to put it in a fixed deposit in India, so that I would get at least 5% or 6% interest, so that I can make some extra money on top of it. So technically, these are the two situations. I would send it to India, but I don't spend it. I would send it to India, but I will immediately spend it. These are the two cases. So now, as we have NRE account and also NRO account, let's try to understand, from my US Chase Bank account, can I send it to NRE? Can I transfer my money to NRE? Yes, you can. You can transfer your dollars from your Chase Bank, and when it reaches your NRE account, it would automatically get converted as rupees, and then you will see money in INR. And now the other question, can I transfer the money directly to NRO? Yes, you can. From Chase Bank, you send in dollars and you receive it in INR, rupees. Yes, you will get it in INR. So now, what is the recommendation if I am able to send to both accounts? What's the recommendation? So if there is a person A who don't have any expenses and who simply want to save it, my recommendation is send it to NRE always. This is the first preference all the times. Even if you have some expenses, still I would say you send it to NRE account all the times. Let's say you send your money to NRE. So let's say you are sending this money in the month of January in a particular year. Let's assume that you don't have any expenses. You send this in January, or otherwise there will be people who always save money in US or any other country abroad. So they would save some money from their salary every month, and then they send the money to their Indian bank accounts every month. Let's say you have a habit of sending every month. So you send all the money to NRE account and then keep it in NRE. When there is an expense, let's say you have an expense, then you can send it to your NRO, which means you can transfer your funds from NRE to NRO. This is possible. All right. So far what we have seen, from Chase Bank, you can send it to your NRE account from US to India, US to NRE Indian account, you can send yes. From Chase Bank to NRO, you can send. If you send your money directly to NRO, technically it is possible. Once it goes there, any interest it starts accumulating, any interest bank would provide for you, the money that you keep it in NRO, you technically have to pay taxes. Now let's say after 1 year is done, you have some excess funds here. Let's say you have 5 lakh rupees in your NRE account, and let's say another person B, who always sends to NRO account, and he sent, let's say, 5 lakh, and out of which he spent, let's say, 2 lakh, and he still have 3 lakh. So now at this point, both of them wanted to get the money back to India. So someone who has the money in NRE account, they simply open their bank account and fill in some details and submit the button. Just like that, in a minute you can do it. Your funds will be transferred back to your Chase Bank account or any bank account in the abroad. So this indicates that your money is freely repatriable. Okay, so anybody who has money in NRO, if they simply open their bank account, if they fill some forms and submit it, it won't let you make your money transfer. So this option is wiped out. Banks will not allow you to transfer money from NRO to back to your foreign bank account. That's very much important, we have to understand. So now another example. So now you have money in India. So let me clear this. Let's say you have NRE account which has 5 lakh, and let's say you have NRO account which has 2 lakh. And let's say if one of my, let's put it this way. So person A who has NRE account 5 lakh balance, for the same person A who has NRO account with 2 lakh balance, totally he has 7 lakh balance. So now a friend of mine, a friend of the person A, would ask for some money wherein he needs some help. He wants some 1 lakh rupees. So if I wanted to give him by a bank transfer, can I transfer from my NRV to non-resident savings account? Okay, let's take this example. A person with NRE account who has 5 lakh balance, and with NRO account with 2 lakh balance, if my friend who requests me for some help, and if I wanted to help him by doing some money transfer, can I transfer it to his savings account in India? If my friend who is an Indian, who is a resident Indian, who only have a savings bank account, can I transfer some money from my NRE account? Yes, technically possible. Or can I transfer from my NRO account? It is also possible. And now after a year, now my friend wants to return my money back, the 1 lakh whatever that I have given. So 1 lakh I have given using this option or this option, both can work. And whatever the money my friend has taken, if he wants to return it back, can he do it in case if I have given it in NRE account? Can he do this way? Can he transfer from his saving accounts to my NRE account? No. So in case if I have given from my NRO account, will he be able to transfer it to my NRO account? Yes, technically possible. So here, because the person here is a resident who has only saving account, he can transfer only to NRO account and he cannot transfer to NRE account. So in the same example, now let's look at this way. I have a person A who is a NRI, who has NRE account and also NRO account. All right, and let's say I have a friend who is person B. he is also NRI, and he also has NRE account and also has NRO account. So if my friend wants some money as a loan from me, I can transfer to his NRE account or to his NRO account. That is possible. While returning back, if my friend wants to return back, he can return in the same way as how I gave him. So let's take this example here. If I have given him from my NRE to his NRE, while returning the money, he can give me back to my NRE. Because both are NREs, transferring of money between NRE account, one NRE account to another NRE account is technically possible. But in case if I have given him money to his NRO account, then while returning the money, he cannot give me back in NRE. He can only give me to my NRO. This is possible. So in case if he wants to give back from his NRO to NRE, this is not possible. Okay, this is one criteria. But let's say when I receive the money back to him, if I wanted to spend it in India for making some payments or something, so in that case, let's say if I am giving the money straight away from my NRO account, if I have given money from NRO account to his NRO account, which is technically possible, while returning also, he can return my money back to NRO. So this is something we have to really understand. So the money movement is really required to understand. So how we can transfer and how we cannot transfer. So in a nutshell, let's say my Chase checkings, this is my US bank account, this is my NRE account, NRO account. So technically I can send here, I can receive it back. I can only send one way, but the other way I cannot send it. This is very much important, guys. So but if really somebody wants to deposit some Indian rupees into NRO account, let's say your father or mother or your friends or anybody who wants to pay you some money in Indian rupees, they can pay directly to your NRO. They cannot, let's call others. The others can pay directly to your NRO in INR. Others cannot pay anything to your NRE. That's not possible. This has to be very clear, guys, before we move on. Let's back to other differences. So as we have seen with an example, taxability is NRE accounts are 100% tax free. So you keep your money in your NRE account, which would earn some interest. Every quarter bank would pay you some interest, which is tax free. They're not going to deduct. But in case if it is a NRO account, they're going to give you interest every quarter and also deduct your TDS every quarter. And repatriability, it is pretty much easy to repatriate your money if you have money in your NRE. So I always advise to keep excess money always in NRE, and when you need it, transfer it from your NRE to NRO and use it accordingly. So because you never know when you might need your money back in dollars. If at all you want your money back, you should have the doors open to transfer it with just one click. So if you have it in your NRE, you submit the request, the next day morning you get your money back in dollars or any other foreign currency back in your foreign bank account. It's that easy, guys. So keep your excess money always in your NRE accounts all the times. So because it's easily the liquidity is very good, and then you can take your money whenever you want it. and deposits. So let's say if you have a lot of money in your NRE account, so try to put them in fixed deposits. Fixed deposits gives you better interest than just leaving it in your NRE saving account. So but remember, if you go for a fixed deposit, you may not get interest until you complete the whole term that you have chosen, ideally, which is one complete year. So if you break your deposit within less than 1 year, you don't get any money, any interest for your deposit. That's you have to remember, guys. Whereas if it is an NRO account, even if you break in between, they will partially deduct something and then give you the rest of the interest, but you still have to pay taxes. And now finally, withdrawals. Withdrawals happen or even before the deposits. So how do you deposit? Whenever you transfer from your foreign bank account, whichever the currency it is, it can be dollars, euros, or whatever currency it is, you send your money from your foreign bank account, but when it is received in India, it will be always received in INR, and whenever you open your bank account, you will always see your money in Indian rupees, whereas NRO is also always Indian rupees. And withdrawals, whenever you want to withdraw, you can withdraw it as Indian rupees only. And if you want to transfer to your friend, or if you want to make a bank loan payment, or anything you want to withdraw, or you want to do an online transfer, or you go to an ATM to withdraw, or you issue a check to make a payment, so anything would happen always in INR. This is both for NRE as well as NRO. And now exchange risk. What is exchange risk here? So whenever you send your money from your foreign bank account, so whatever the exchange rate that day, you would get the money accordingly as per the rate. So the rate keep changing, as you all know. So technically you may not get the same rate every day. So one day you might get more money for your dollar exchange rate, or one day it might be little less. So that risk you have. Whereas when it comes to NRO, if somebody is paying you every month, say example, you are collecting a rent from your apartment, or you are collecting some interest in rupees, so anything that's coming into your NRO as rupees, there is no risk of foreign conversion there, because the money is never converted into foreign currency. And income tax rate, slab is same as resident, meaning so whatever the slab that is designed for people in India, pretty much NRIs follow the same slab, but most of the situations, because you are residing outside India, so the income that what we earn probably would be less, and then technically you all fall under most of us fall under no income slab, like up to 250,000, so 2,50,000 rupees. You don't have to pay any taxes. If you fall under that category, if your income, the rents you are receiving, interest you are receiving, all these things is less than 2,50,000, technically you may not have to pay any tax. But there are different types of taxes, different types of incomes. Technically when you are investing, trading, so that's something we will discuss separately. So and another thing, FDs. So NRE FDs, whenever you book a FD from your NRE account, so any interest you accrue is tax free, and any FD you book from your NRO bank account, so the interest you get will be taxed at 30%. And you always remit your overseas earnings to India and convert it in INR. So technically we already discussed about it. So one thing we need to understand here is, as we discussed earlier, I always recommend keep all your money in NRE account, and when there is a need you want to spend it, try to transfer it back to your NRO account. So technically this is all the differences between NRE and NRO account. So we can see how we can transfer money from our NRE account to any other foreign bank account, so in our next video. So if you like this content, please like, share and subscribe to our channel, Desi Investing by NRI. Thank you.